Hello and welcome to Mandibil. I thought I'd make a little update here after a long while where I've been doing nothing on my YouTube channel. And still I'm getting new subscribers. So there must be something at least I'm doing right. So I have fixed a new webcam on my laptop to get a better picture. I don't think the old one was good enough, right? So at least the picture quality should be a little better. Though I can see I'm getting older and older, right? So you know how it is. If you are just getting somewhere close to my age, I'm fastly approaching 60, right? Okay. I just wanted to make a little update. Not that I have anything big on the table. I'm just, a little, picking my own brains, so to say, and just keeping the pot alive. So what I have sort of in my sort of hobby area, of which philosophy, among other things, is a thing, right? So I'm planning on making a massive, and I mean massive, analysis of possibly my favorite movie, which is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining from 1980. And this is not just any, I mean, you know me too well, I hope, I'm not just going to make a 10-minute video, which is the explaining The Shining in 10 minutes. You can't do that. Trust me, you can't do that. It has to be on a almost shot by shot, frame by frame, almost analysis, because there's so many details in this movie. I'm mind blown when I really dig into it, how much is revealed, right? And I have watched a few Shining and Kubrick documentaries and analyses and so on. And there's nobody who's even close to what I've been doing here. There's a few attempts to have the same approach maybe, but they have no way near done the kind of analysis and extracted patterns in the movie like I've done, right? So at the moment, I mean, there are 10 chapters in the movie, right? And they are called something like The Interview, and the next one is Closing Day, and then a month later, then Tuesday, then Thursday, and so on, right? And 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. or something like that. I don't remember exactly the order. That doesn't matter. But I am in chapter 8 now, and I've been doing this for going on a year, on off, right? I have had a little break here and then get back into it and so on. But it's tedious work. But I'm the kind of guy, either I'm going to do this or I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to do some half-ass shit, right? If I'm doing it, I'm going all the way. And I'm creating a complete theory about what this movie is about. I'm analyzing each shot. And I'm also going to analyze, to some extent, the music and the dialogue and obviously the compositions and so on and so on. So everything. And I'm like, you son of a bitch, Stanley Kubrick, right? So much little details here and there. Your mind is going to be blown what is in this movie. I promise you, right? If you love this movie, I guess that's maybe important. If you don't care about it, why would you care, right? But it's at this point, this is possibly the most analyzed and possibly the most misunderstood movie of all time, right? So if this was just some obscure movie that I'm in love with, and I wouldn't make this kind of presentation, but this is Stanley Kubrick, one of the top 5 directors of all time, right? one of the most discussed movie, one of the most loved, at least within horror, the horror genre. Let's say this is a big one, and it's so well made and constructed. It's unbelievable, right? It just goes to show that reviewers and the Oscars and other directors like Steven Spielberg, he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't understand what the hell Kubrick was about, right? The viewers, everybody, including myself, until I sort of slapped my own face and said, there's something here that I need to sit down and really do it. Not this superficial stuff. Do it really good, right? And then it sort of came out. I promise you, this is going to be good. And it has all sorts of little appeals to philosophy here and there, right? It's not a big deal, but it's there. So it sort of fits with the channel, you could say. And it fits with my hobby and my passion for movies, right? So I'm in chapter 8 now, and I think I'm going to use a PowerPoint show, right? Where I can put the webcam in and so on, right? And take screenshots and whatever. Write text. I know. I'm in chapter 8, and there are 2 more chapters, which are the big ones, right? They are fairly long, so I'm still only sort of 2/3 away from the, or 1/3. I've done 2/3 of the movie, and there's still 1/3, right? And a lot of things happen in the last third, right? So, and I am way beyond 500 pages of slides on my PowerPoints. So I had to split the PowerPoint. It's so huge. I'm splitting it up in several PowerPoints, actually one for each chapter, which might not actually be the best idea, but one for each chapter. And there may be 150 slides in each chapter. This is the level of detail I'm going into, right? So just to warn you, at some point, I'm not going to be handheld about this. I'm not going to start recording it before I have done all the analysis and found, formulated the theory and so on, of what is going on or what it's about and so on. And, and analyzing and then going sort of into meta level and whatever is needed. It all has to be settled before I do the recording, so I know that I'm going to finish it, right? So, it's going to be massive. It's going to be absolutely massive. I mean, maybe not 500 videos, but maybe 50 videos, something like that. And very long, a couple of hours maybe. I don't know. It's in that ballpark, right? Maybe it's because it takes a long time to prepare that I'm thinking that it takes a long time to present. It might not be as bad, but I'm going to dwell on each and at least the very important details. I'm going to explain very clearly as I can, right? But I have found, I believe, I wouldn't say messages, but there are a couple or 3 points in the movie where Kubrick has done something that you should notice if you are using your ears and your eyes, right? If you're using your ears and eyes, at that particular point and that particular point, he's basically talking to you, in my opinion, right? If you see it or hear it. If you don't, you're oblivious, right? But I found exactly 2 points, and they are connected. So it's like there has to be something to it, right? You can always say it's the radical skepticism. You can't know anything because the guy's dead and there's only the movie. Of course, but this is not philosophical scrutiny. This is artistic. It's a scrutinization of an artistic output, and that is different from analyzing or deconstructing other people's philosophy. Artistic expression is a different beast, and I will try to respect that, and I'm trying to always say, yeah, but this is my interpretation. And there are certain points where I have to say, okay, I am going with this interpretation. You could interpret it in another way if you want, but I think this is a fork in the road where you either go one way or you go the other way. And then I say, well, I'm going this way, and I will try to rationalize it. But, but be prepared. Within a foreseeable future, I will start uploading analysis of the Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. So you can look forward to that if you're into movies, and in particular The Shining, of course, right? Then I'm doing some other stuff in my spare time. I am working on actually a couple of books, and my old been talking about this philosophy books for 10 years or something like that, right? I've decided I'm going to go with it, but I'm also writing another book at the same time. I'm writing a novel, actually. And this is a completely new thing. I was started on a novel where I had some ideas that I figured out I cannot get this to work. Yeah, by combining two ideas into what could be a novel, a story, but it combining them, doing them alone would not be good. It wouldn't be strong enough. But combining them would weaken both the stories. So I have to sort of find some middle ground for each of them, and that would actually destroy these two stories. So, though the idea sounded good on paper, it didn't work. So I had to say, no, I'm scrapping that project. And then a month or two ago, I got an idea for another. It was just, popped out of my... I was just watching some videos or readings and books somewhere or something. Some idea clicked, I guess that's just how it happens. You have to be inspired. The more you read, the more you listen, the more you see, the more you experience, the more inspired you get. You cannot sit there looking into the wall and then expect something to pop out. At least you have to think to get an inspiration, right? Stanley Kubrick, I'm quite sure the way he approached the movie or getting to a story or a framework for a new movie, he read novels and short stories and just, in one stream. And at some point something clicked. And it's possible to me, at least for me, that my understanding of how Kubrick worked, that he had some ideas in his head of particular subjects, particular scenes, particular effects, some kind of story, but they didn't fit into a coherent thing. So, but when he read a novel or a short story or whatever, he would then say, I could use this for, showing this kind of story and that kind of story. I could use a scene there and that scene there. That could, like his Eyes Wide Shut from 1999, which was an old Austrian book from I believe from the 20s, about, sexual desires and but in a rather different way than how he uses it in Eyes Wide Shut, which is set in New York at that time with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. But he has sort of twisted it around, and he brought some, this secret society thing into it. So he had some ideas what he wanted to put into movies, and then he could take a novel and then shove that story into it. It would fit, kind of thing, right? And I guess that when you read something or see some photographs or some pictures or whatever it is, if you're already in the mindset of, for instance, writing a book, maybe seeing that documentary or maybe reading that book or collecting these paintings or whatever it is will suddenly inspire something that could be an interesting story to tell in, for instance, a novel. So I have got something that I think is quite, I'm still sort of 50-50. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work. But I have to do a lot of research and, you're going back in history and things like that, right? So I won't tell anything about it. But I'm in my spare time, I spend a little time on my on my on this novel, thinking about it, right? And how to put together this story. So it's coming along decently. I'm sort of, feeling my way through it. And the philosophy book, I did start like a year ago on it, and then I wrote about one or two chapters, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be the thing. I started to think about channeling into that novel. So that sort of philosophy book was put on hold because I wanted to combine it with a novel. And then I sort of ditched the novel. So now I'm back to the sort of straight up philosophy writing of a book. And I want to do it. And I want it to be a very simple, very precise, very as short as possible. Maybe not just 4 pages, but maybe 50 pages. Whatever it is, only what is necessary. So I'm going to work on that. So I have these projects I'm sort of doing, right? So another thing when it comes to, I've done a lot of deconstruction of Bernardo Kastrup last year and some years before that, right? This year I haven't really done much. And I'm kind of tired of hearing his voice, to be honest, right? But what I was trying to say is that I still find him to be the one who talks most about foundational philosophy. And it's a little annoying that he has this playing field mostly to himself. It's like he has carved out a huge space in this, and he's become some kind of judge of the idea of consciousness and idealism, and so there's nobody to challenge him. Why not? I don't see that many criticism of his. There's a few popped up recently, but this sort of half-ass, I don't like it kind of argument. It's not good enough for me. Give me something straight up, right? Something like I've done. So, and I've also criticized it a lot because it's quite bad, to be honest, right? It has all the fancy words and all that, and all the PhDs and professorships and whatever, right? It has it sounds right, it sounds philosophical, and you might be duped by his eloquence when writing, and I'm listening to a few of his audiobooks and so on Audible, and it's this, like in Denmark we have a saying like walk like a cat walking around the hot porridge, right? It's like it's walking around to see where it's coldest, I suppose, right? But it's like it's so often that I have a sense that people want to philosophize for whatever agenda or reason they have, but they don't really want to get really down to the core, right? Now, I would say that Bernardo Kastrup gets kind of close, right? If I compare to my own way of doing it, right? But it's sort of, when we get down to these, where this is where it's, right? This should be clear, and that should be clear. This should be straight, right? And then it gets all fluffy, right? It's this sort of, is very precise, and then anything goes. It's like, oh man, right? Okay, recently on Essential Foundation, there was a video with some guy, I forget his name, Searching for Truth, his call. I don't remember his name. He's sort of a mainstream guy who sort of found a little niche about philosophy and neuroscience and science of consciousness and philosophy of consciousness and all that. Closer to Truth, I think he's called, right? But I don't remember his name. But recently, Essential Foundation, which is Bernardo Kastrup's little club there, right? They made a video where they are talking about the 325 plus theories of consciousness. So this guy, Closer to Truth guy there, right? He has mapped out all, apparently, I haven't dug deep into it. I have better things to do with my life, right? But at least 325 theories about consciousness. It's ridiculous, man, right? It's like, what the hell is going on? This is make work for academia, right? Everybody comes up with a new theory. So I can write my own paper, and I have my own ism, right? And I'll be famous because I have my own ism about consciousness. Well, the whole point is, you're not experiencing consciousness. It's like saying, I have a theory of how to, what France is. As I pointed out in other videos, I have a theory of what France is. France is an artificial construct. It's not something that exists, right? You can't have a theory about France because France is an abstract category, an abstract mapping, you could say, of a supposed territory on the surface of Earth, right? Or something like that. It doesn't exist. Like you can say, you can't experience animal, right? You can see a beaver, you can see a rat, you can see a cow, you can see a mosquito, but you can't see an animal. You can see a beaver and say, that is an animal. And you can see a mosquito and say, that is it's an animal, I suppose, right? But you know what I mean. A dog, well, yeah, you can experience dog, but you can say, I experience dog, and that is an animal. The same goes for consciousness. Consciousness is sort of a mapping term. Consciousness is where everything that I have access to of my phenomena, in the broadest sense of the term, are confined. That's my consciousness, right? And then you can maybe discuss meta-consciousness and then subconscious and all these things, but it's sort of within the same frame, right? So you don't need to have a theory about it because there isn't something tangible that is consciousness. It's a name. It's just a term. No wonder there are 325 different, at least 325 different theories about consciousness, because they're trying to describe something that doesn't exist, right? It's brain fart on another level, right? And of course, all these academics, they want to sit there and they have somewhere where, oh, is it easy to check whether or not what I'm doing is right or wrong? No, you basically cannot check it. Great, I'm going to do some academia over there because nobody can check whether or not, and I can sound great, and I can create my own ism, and I can get money, and oh my God, right? This is where we at with philosophy. It's like, I don't know what it is with academics. I mean, yes, they have a monetary or economic incentive to do work where they don't get anywhere. Because when they solve it, they said, hey, here's the solution, done, you don't need to pay me anymore, right? Solution, done, right? They don't want that. Because then the gravy train potentially stops. They wanted to not solve anything because then they can keep their professorships going, right? I mean, it's not that hard to understand. I mean, academia is the aristocracy of the welfare era, right? The social, so the woke, what do you call it? The welfare state is possibly the best, right? Socialized government, government looking into all your shit, right? It's a way of keeping yourself alive. Just sit there. I mean, David Chalmers is famous for his, heart problem, the easy problem, the heart problem, and most famously the heart problem, which is there's nothing inherent about the color red that, that when you're measuring your, neuroscience, why is that neuroscience red, right? There's no connection. the heart problem, right? But it's actually an impossible problem, and it's because of bad metaphysics and so on. But for 35 years, this guy hasn't done anything other than just keeping repeating the same old shit, basically, right? I mean, it's make work. Let me sit there and get on podcasts and videos and not solve anything. Because if I solve something, the gravy train may end, right? So I have to keep it alive. So I don't need to solve anything. And that's why there are 325 theories about something that doesn't exist or can't exist because it's an artificial idea. So, okay. Lastly, before I leave you alone, right? Before I stop talking at you. If you have seen somebody out there who's presenting some interesting, deeper philosophical aspects, you think that might be up my alley, that might need a little deconstruction, and give me a hint down below, right? Give me a hint. And while we're at it, why don't you give me a like and a subscribe and so on, if you don't subscribe already, right? And leave a comment, what do you think about it, right? And do you like The Shining, right? Let me know. Okay, see you in the next one.